And this is exactly why we have such a near perfect relationship. So this week, we really wanted to do some fun skiing videos for you guys, since skiing is a big part of, for us anyway, of living in Taos. It's one of the reasons we decided to stay here and not leave after our retreat and sort of hunker down and hang out in Taos for the next couple of months, at least until our next retreat at the end of May. And a huge part of that obviously was nature, as we talk about a lot, but specifically the skiing, because we are skiers and we love skiing. We ended up buying a season pass, and so we wanted to share with you guys what we get to experience when we go skiing, which for us is just beauty, magic, being in nature, exercising, moving your body. It's just all of it makes us feel so good. So I just wanted to have a little bit of editing fun this week and show you guys what it looks like for us when we go skiing in practically our own backyard. I hope you enjoy. All right, honey.
I'm in the middle of...
Yeah, perfect. So you can just not really have to think about it, and you just...
Well, people are going to see me what I do with these chickens.
All right, the question for this week is, how do you have such a great relationship with your partner?
Murphy?
AKA me.
Well, obviously, looking at me in this situation, my partner must be blind, deaf, and I'm not going to say dumb because she clearly is not dumb. She must be the most amazing woman in the world, in the universe, to be able to put up with this nonsense. So that would be my answer.
Yeah.
Can I eat my skin now?
Yes. Eat your skin.
No, I'm not going to do it. I can't do it on camera. I won't. I can't.
Why can't you?
I won't.
Please.
Uh-oh. All right. What's the question again? I'll answer it sincerely.
Okay. How do you have such a near perfect relationship?
Honestly, because I know I'm not perfect. I know I'm wrong. I know I'll shoot out of the gate with, feeling of whatever. And, I'm right, she's wrong. And then minutes later, I realize that, yeah, I've been wrong. And I'm shooting out of an ego instead of just it being happy. So I'm more about understanding that it's more important to be happy than to be right. It doesn't matter if I'm right or wrong. But I think that's a big part of it. And not being afraid to be loved, because you love a lot, that's for sure. Not afraid of that. And not afraid to love. And I have a very, 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 very patient partner. We laugh a lot. We do. We really do. We don't take it so seriously. And we look at each other as bonuses in our lives instead of a partner that is needed. Being able to be wrong and knowing you're going to be loved anyway, I think that's a big one for me, Knowing when I'm in my Scottness and you love me anyway is that's just the greatest, honestly. And I know that, when I'm in it, and that kind of pulls me out of it, because then I'm like, oh, you shit, So I think that, and yeah, I have a perfect partner. I mean, I do. We are so open with each other. We're always on each other's side, no matter what. Always on each other's side. We always communicate, great communicators. Well, you are better than me.
You are one of the greatest communicators.
Oh, because I'm great.
When you're calm.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about that, but I don't know about, great. But I've learned to be way, way, way better. And I think that's the thing, past relationship, right? It teaches you so much. And I owe a lot to that. I learned so much. I learned how to be better, better partner and listen better, self-regulate better. And I think that's what you got to do. Yeah?
Very nice.
Isn't it the perfect answer?
Thank you.
I read everything off the card. Yeah, you want me to be quiet? You have to tell me to be quiet.
See, can you hear him? He's asking me so nicely if he can be quiet for me. And this is exactly why we have such a near perfect relationship. So the question this week is how do you have a near perfect relationship? Also, how to create, attract, manifest your soulmate ultimately, because that's what I would call our relationship. It feels even deeper than soulmates. Some would say twin flames, things like that, but it feels even deeper than that. But that's the only human words that we have. So there's a perfect example of the kindness that we have towards each other, the willingness of, just being nice to each other, honestly. However, I want to start with a couple of really foundational things that I think are important to have a really great relationship, which is what I have. And by the way, I will add that on my journey, the last 6-7 years of awakening, there are many times throughout those years that I have doubted, as we all do. Is what I believe really real? Have I really created anything in my life? Who am I really to share this stuff? All of those doubts have come in, but I would tell you the two things that I can always go to as an absolute assurance that the work I have done on the inside has manifested on the outside, and that I am so certain of these two things that no doubt can exist. And that is the relationship with my children and the relationship with Scott. Those two things fundamentally are so beyond what I could even imagine, beyond what I could even think to manifest, that I know when I look at those two things that yes, the work I've done internally on myself for the last 7 years and the changes I've made on the outside absolutely are real, and there absolutely is a universe beyond what we experience in this three-dimensional reality. So I want to say that first and foremost. There are a couple reasons or foundational things that I believe has added to the relationship that I get to have with Scott. Number one, we were not looking for a partner when we found each other. He had been in a relationship for almost 30 years. I had been in a relationship for almost 10 years. And we were not seeking a partner. In fact, we were seeking ourselves, each of us individually. We were going to meditation workshops. We were looking for the thing that we always knew was inside of us, the bigger picture, but didn't really quite know yet. And so that's what we were seeking. We were seeking ourselves, our own truth of who we really are. That's what we were both seeking. And we both found that. We both had moments, especially in the workshop that we met at, that we fundamentally fell in love with ourselves. Fundamentally, you know, I had my first experience with energy, and he was there seconds later. So we both fundamentally had been seeking ourselves and had, you know, self-love is, I always say it's on a scale. It's not a switch. It's not an on-off switch. It's on a scale. But we had reached a deeper level of love within ourselves. And then poof, the other appeared literally almost out of thin air. And we weren't looking for it. It came to us because we were in such alignment with who we really are that the other could show up. So that was the first thing. The second thing was, you know how people say, when you date, you only show the best of yourselves, and then that initial attraction wears off, and then usually that's relationships has problems. There was no presenting any other aspect of ourselves than the real us, than the true us with each other from the very beginning. So there was no like, oh, here's the best version of myself, and then, you know, a year later, here's who I really am. There was none of that. We were both very, very, very authentic and real. We always joke and say there was no dating for us because it seemed like it just was. There was no awkwardness. It just is, here I am. And I love myself so much that if you don't love every single aspect of me, that's okay. Let's move on. But I think because we were so open, there was nothing to hide. And still to this day, 6 years later, we don't hide anything from each other. Like there's no aspect of ourselves that we keep from one another. There's no filter. There's no wall. We share everything. Even as far as when I have really long turds, I want him to come look at it, but he won't. Anyway, there's nothing that we don't share. Some people can say that they don't want that in a relationship. They want to keep some things to themselves. Totally understand that. Totally okay. I'm just expressing from our perspective and from our relationship. That's just an aspect that we both really appreciate and really enjoy and really love. That there's nothing that we have to hide from each other. So there's that, number two. Number three, which I believe is important in anything you do in life, is we laugh a lot. We laugh so much. Beyond being lovers, we are best friends. Literally, we love to laugh and have a good time. Neither one of us takes life too seriously, although we both have our moments, but we laugh a lot. He makes me laugh. I make him laugh. Laughter is a really big part of our relationship, which is really, really, really important. In fact, even when we sort of start to get into a disagreement, it can't stay very long because I'll look at him and he'll look at me and we'll both start laughing. It's not to say that we haven't had our moments of intense disagreements, but for the most part, they don't get too intense because usually we end up laughing. Neither one of us likes to fight or argue. So we, you know, like, again, we've had our moments of some intense disagreements, but usually, like I said, they don't last long. Which leads me to the second thing. or the third thing, excuse me, fourth thing, maybe, next thing, let's say, it leads me to the next thing. I used to be a person that when I had a disagreement or an argument with somebody, I wanted to talk it out and fix it right then in that moment. I needed to talk it out because I hated conflict. What I have learned is that if either of us is in the emotion, in a heightened emotion, there is no way we can have a discussion and talk logically and reasonably because neither one of us are in that space. We're in the intense energy. So what I've learned is that I have had to walk away in those moments so that we can both calm down, settle down, and then express and communicate from our hearts, not from our egos. And I will say he is amazing when he is finally out of the emotion. He is such a great communicator. I'm telling you guys, because he communicates from his wounds, from his shadows, he doesn't communicate from his ego, like you did this to me. I don't say that to him. You did this to me. We'll say, this is how I felt, and this is probably why I reacted that way. And then we work through that together. We both understand fundamentally that he cannot make me feel a certain way, and I cannot make him feel a certain way. And knowing that, we still work together to be in relationship. So if I said, hey, honey, you said this, and I think you were kind of unconscious, and man, it really shook me, it really hurt my feelings. He, of course, would be like, I completely apologize. I would have never meant to do that. And I know he would never mean to hurt my feelings. So it's not like we're just like, oh, too bad, that's on you. We don't do that either. We understand that relationship means working through things together. And your most intimate relationships is where most of your mirrors and your shadows will hide. Those relationships will bring those out. So it's really important that you have a foundation of love. That's what brings me to the next aspect. We have a very, very deep and solid foundation of just pure love and respect for each other. So we don't say cross words to each other. Even if we're disagreeing or having an argument, we would never say anything mean or hurtful to the other person because we would never want to be mean or hurtful to the other person. And so if we're taking something wrong, we know the other person's not doing that to be mean or disrespectful. We have a ton of respect for each other and a ton of love. So when you have that foundation of love and you don't want to hurt the other person, it makes it a lot easier to communicate effectively and clearly what's coming from you because you're not afraid the other person's going to attack you. You're not afraid of them not loving you. We don't have that with each other. We're not afraid of that because we have such a deep and solid foundation of love for each other. So that's really, really important. If you have that very foundation, you can build so many things from that. And the other aspect is that we love a lot of the same things. We have a similar vision for our futures and the things we want to experience. We both are committed to our own personal growth. So we're committed to growing individually as ourselves, but then growing together as a couple, as a relationship. And he's changed so much in the last 6 years. I've changed so much in the last 6 years. And we've done that together. I mean, I remember hearing Tony Robbins talking about it all the time. When you're in a relationship and one is interested in growth and the other isn't, it's going to be really hard to maintain that relationship. It just is, even if you've been married for a long time. We both experienced it in our own marriages, that when one, it wants to grow and expand and the other doesn't, it can make it very challenging to maintain that relationship. So we both are interested in growth and know we're going to grow. And I love him where he's at and he loves me where I'm at. So it's not like either one of us went into the relationship going, I am in love with his potential or I'm in love with her potential. There was none of that. It was, I'm in love with exactly who you are right now. And if you never changed today for forever, I would still love you just as you are right now. Both of us have that. We don't try to change the other person. We know that we can only change ourselves and expand ourselves. And then we can hold that really sacred container for each other to go through the really sometimes very challenging and painful growth. But knowing that we have the other person there unconditionally, no matter what. I know he has my back, no matter what. He knows I have his back, no matter what. And again, I believe that stems from a very solid foundation of love. He shared, I think, 3 things. Of course, I have to be 12 minutes into to my explanation. But as you know, him and I talk a lot about, we would love to work with couples because we see so many, and him and I can so quickly see the blind spots, and we can so quickly see where the cracks are in the relationship and how you can mend those cracks and how you can build upon that so that you have this foundation that you can both build upon. We can see that very easily. So who knows, you know, maybe sometime in the future we'll do that. But because, you know, we talk about this all the time, because we have such an amazing relationship, it's like, this is possible. It really is possible to have, you know, we've been together 6 years. I know many people, well, try, you know, after 30 years. And all I can say to that is all I can share is our experience. After 6 years, it's changed and transformed so much. I think that we fall more in love as time goes on, and we become even more deeply connected as time goes on, instead of the opposite, which I've had in a lot of most of my relationships before. As time goes on, you sort of part ways more. So I get it. Like, it hasn't been 30 years. And like I said, all I can do is speak from our experience. And I will say that I feel like if you have these really deep foundational things, that even in 30 years, if you have that foundation, you can build and grow. And not that there won't be challenges, and not that we haven't had challenges. We've had, of course, we've had challenges in 6 years. I've been open with some of those challenges. However, there was never a unwillingness to work through them and work through them together as a couple, not as two separate people, but as a couple in a relationship for the best for each of us, knowing that we always want the best for each of us. And knowing while we are madly in love with each other, we also are madly in love with ourselves too, you know, so it's not like we're dependent upon each other. We have things that we don't have in common that he does and he likes and I do and I like. And I think that's a really healthy thing to have time away. I mean, we're mostly together 24 hours, 7 days a week, but we also have time apart when he's going to do his things. So I think having that balance is really, really crucial as well. And as I said, I believe these are the foundations at this point in consciousness. That may change in a year from now. But for now, having those foundations is really what has allowed us to truly, I can say truly, I wake up many, many mornings feeling him next to me and just being so grateful to have this in my life. Many moments throughout the day where we're laughing, or, you know, comes up and he taps my butt, and it's just like, I'm so grateful to have experienced this in my life, because ultimately, as the human aspect of ourselves, we crave connection and we crave relationship. And so having one that allows me to fly while still feeling totally held is one of the most magical things of my life. So hey, who knows? Like I said, what the future brings. If you're having struggles with your relationship and, you know, you're interested maybe in seeing how we could help you build those foundations, reach out and maybe we can create something. However, for now, always remember the work starts within you first and foremost, always. And then that can extend to the relationship. So there you go this week, how to have a near perfect relationship. See you guys next week.